of the more interesting and one of the more challenging areas of education today involves the use of big data and analytics. I've written a book about this topic titled The Educational Data Movement, Crossing Boundaries, Searching for Student Success. And it will be published in early 2013 by Teachers College Press, a well-known publisher in the education space. In this book, what I argue is that their field of education has gone through a shift, and is still going through a shift, from being largely intuitive and largely driven by individual judgment to being more guided by data and information. And I also look at, in some ways, how this movement is challenging. It presents us with new opportunities, but also new areas of concern for how we treat our teachers and children and the kind of data we collect and how we use it. If we step back and we look at the field of education broadly, it resembles other fields. In the last decade, what we've seen in education is similar to what we've seen over several decades in other fields. For example, we've seen the collection of large data sets, data warehouses, an interest in big data and analytics. We're seeing now in the last several years more fine-grained data being collected in education. Some of the learning tools that are being used both online and those that are just in schools but not connected to the internet, these tools are collecting fine-grained activity trace data, which reminds us of the kinds of data that other fields have used, for example, in retail or finance or healthcare. Those fields now can very accurately track the movement of things and people and the behaviors of individuals in their online activities as they search for products and buy products. So we're seeing in education now the kinds of data that we've seen in other types of fields. We're also seeing certain types of practices that have emerged in other fields. For example, trying to segment and profile individuals and groups. Retailers, healthcare providers, many different fields now use 360-degree views of their customers. They try to collect data from different points in the life cycle and understand not just who is that customer or who is that patient today, but what are they like in their life history, and what are they like in terms of their different interests and particulars. In education, we're seeing those types of interests, and one of the signature movements in the past couple of years has been a shift away from what we would think of as individual achievement based upon common benchmarks to a focus on growth. So now we're looking at how much are students growing, given their prior knowledge and their circumstances, how much learning has occurred in their classrooms. And this is really a paradigm shift, and it's around the same types of ideas that we have in other fields where we're trying to personalize and trying to adapt services and use data to help adapt those services to particular needs. We're also seeing something in education that reminds us of other fields and lets us know that this is a very important process for education, which is the emergence of a vendor space. In the last 5 years, there's been an explosion of new companies providing data warehouse and analytics tools for states, for districts, and some of these tools are now available for teachers and schools to be able to make decisions about their particular students. It's a very new space, it's a very active space, but it certainly is one that we've seen a tremendous investment and a tremendous growth. Even though we have these similarities, and I would argue in my book that this is an inevitable shift of the field. We're not going to see that this collection of data and use of data is going to be, we're going to back that up and go back to a more informal time. Even though we have these characteristics that are similar to other fields, there's some areas of education that are specific and different and difficult to deal with in data. One of those happens to involve fragmentation. It's important to be able to collect data of different kinds from different places to develop meaningful analyses. In education, the organizations that manage data are many. There's over 15,000 public school districts in the U.S., and then more if we add in private schools and charters and universities and pre-K. Most of these organizations do not share data. Most of these organizations are not able to share data because they don't have agreements in place and are often managed by different political jurisdictions. So there's a fragmentation at the political level. There's also a fragmentation in the data that many large organizations hold. States and districts often in many cases they have information silos, data silos, that are segmented by program or by location. And connecting this data is not as easy as one might think. One of the big policy moves of the Obama administration was to link teacher and student data to be able to evaluate teachers. And it turns out that that linkage in some cases is easy, but in other cases is very, very hard because students move, teachers move, some students have more than one teacher. And making this linkage is a problem both in the district, but also as we aggregate into larger organizations like the state that may in some cases have hundreds of districts, each of which do things a different way. So fragmentation is a big issue in educational data. Another area that is a big challenge for education, as it has been for other fields, but in education may be even larger, is data quality. A lot of the data that we get in education is entered manually. It goes through human hands, and there's a whole host of reasons why that data can be inaccurate. If we look at the most basic measure of the educational world, it is the measure of student learning. And this would be analogous to a blood pressure or a heart rate statistic in healthcare or financial transactions in retail or in banking. But if we look at education, the variation that can occur from score to score, from measure to measurement is tremendous. And it can occur not only within one individual, but it can also occur from group to group, from teacher to teacher, from time to time. So that when we think about the most basic measure of educational performance, the student measure of student knowledge, whether it's a formal test or some other type of device, many, many issues of accuracy. We also have issues in terms of, who are the knowledge workers that are going to be using the data? In many large organizations that have data scientists, those data scientists work at the central office or in large subsidiaries. They're highly trained. In education, we don't have any training for data scientists. And while there are knowledge workers that work in states and districts, many of the most important knowledge workers work in schools as principals, as specialists, as teachers. And it's not really clear how they're going to perform their job using data. There are no programs today that prepare teachers to teach in the classroom that give them any type of rigorous training on using data. So it's really a brand new field, and yet those are in some ways the knowledge workers that are the most important in terms of the decisions about the kids. We also have very significant privacy issues. The data about students are data about protected individuals. They don't have the right, the ability legally to authorize their data to be shared. So by default, in many cases, we're holding on to data, and this becomes even more complicated when we look across the complex jurisdictional environment of the U.S. We're holding on to data in different places and not being able to share it because of concerns about privacy or concerns about governance. So all that said, there are still some important reasons why the field of education is moving forward with data. And why this is one of the most exciting and one of the most challenging new frontiers for data scientists of all kinds. We have an area that is fundamentally important to our country, fundamentally important to people, and in terms of equity. It's an area that for many years, much of the educational world has really been dark because there have been no metrics. Now we're seeing data emerge, and we're able to make certain kinds of decisions about teachers, about programs, and we're seeing shifts in terms of the way that student funding is occurring because data now exists. In the next several years, in the next several decades, we're going to see dramatic growth in the use of big data in education. But part of that growth, in order to be meaningful, is going to need to account for the specific characteristics of education and the specific human and social factors that go into making a good educational process. Those are going to be topics that I discuss in my book, The Educational Data Movement, and those will be topics I'll talk about in my upcoming talk at Stratton.